Facebook, welcome. It's the 3 million plus Facebook friend Q&A. It's the end of the year. As I said in my post, I'm about to go off the social media cliff. Sorry for the bad pun, but that's where we are, isn't it? There's a time and a place to talk about how amazing the page has been this year and what this community of people has done. I suspect that those things will be flushed out through the entire Q&A. Fleshed. Not flushed. Fleshed. It is our last day of work in 2014 on Arrow. We have more stuff to shoot on the other side, obviously. And thank you for all the feedback on the fall finale. Most of it positive. Certainly all of it engaged. Let's just say that all of it was engaged. I picked 50 questions, 5-0, with some help from my buddy Zacho, so that we could make sure that we didn't just get to the questions that came in right under the wire, and that hopefully further down, some of the questions that didn't have as many likes, but that I wanted to answer, that we could answer some of those. So ready, steady, here we go. Katie Carter wants to know, who is in charge of feeding Slade Wilson while he's in prison on the island? I can answer that. It's an Argus prison. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's like the first couple of seasons of Lost, where they feed him an elephant treat or a polar bear treat every couple of hours. I don't know the answer. But I do know that if I didn't want to kill him, I wouldn't leave him in a prison to starve. Because shooting him in the head with an arrow would be a way better option than that. So somebody's feeding Slade, and I suspect that that question will probably be answered at some point or another. Marine Vist, what is your best 2014 memory, Arrow related or not? Well, I would just say that it's it probably has to do with my daughter. And when you have a child that's, you know, that you're measuring the age in months, which I've decided to do up until 18 months. And then I'm going to stop being a psycho and not say I have a 34-month-old daughter. 18 months makes her a year and a half. Then I'll say that she's a year and a half until she's almost 2. And then when she's almost 2, I'll say she's almost 2, and I'll stop being a crazy person. By the way, did you notice that I'm wearing my Q&A shirt that I wear almost every day to set because I hate changing? So yes, it probably has to do with my daughter, although I will say that the tentacles and the far-reaching nature of the Fuck Cancer campaign, once we have a little bit of time to have some perspective on that, that's certainly going to be a highlight too. And my wife was probably involved for stuff, and it was probably Arrow things as well. So thanks for that question, and you're welcome for the incredibly general answer. Jennifer Farr. Hey, how did you propose to your wife? Being the charismatic creature you are, thank you, I'd imagine the story is pretty great. I proposed on a Saturday afternoon, on the couch, over a glass of wine, and I only proposed with a wedding band. Guys, here's a pointer for you. Don't go out and buy a big crazy ring. Go out and buy a band. Buy the band from Tiffany so you get to put it in a Tiffany box, or Harry Winston, or whatever the local diamond store is. Don't buy it from Zales. I don't know why I said that. Maybe it's possible that I hate their commercials. Go out, buy a band, propose, make sure that she's saying yes for the correct reasons. I think someone's going to knock on my door. Oh, God. Yeah, man.
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
Jill sent that one back.
Okay.
That was the one for my son-in-law. Sorry.
It's okay.
Happy day.
You too. Propose with the band. Make sure she says yes for the right reasons, and not because she wants to keep the diamonds. Not that anybody would ever do that. And then, as part of the wedding planning, if you're so inclined, you can go out and get the ring together and design it together. I'm flipping the script. Anyway, that's how I did it. Allison Sawicki, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cold were you filming the mountaintop fight with Roz? By the way, anyone watching this Q&A, all spoilers are in play up to and including our mid-season finale. I was really, really cold. It was, let's go with Celsius, since the majority of the world is going to watch this and not just the United States of America. I'd say it was like 2 Celsius. And it was windy and it was raining, which is one of the reasons why my left pectoral twitched in one of the scenes. The fight in and of itself, I was fine because we were fighting. But the whole lead up, I was cold. Cold, cold, cold. We'd been planning to do that fight shirtless for a variety of reasons. The first one, I proposed it to the producers because I didn't want my stunt double, Simon, doing one single thing. I love you, Simon. It turns out, though, that Batman and Ra's al Ghul fighting on top of a mountain shirtless is a very iconic image from the comic books. So we wanted to honor that as well. So for those reasons, we ended up doing the fight shirtless, and it was so cold and so miserable. If it had been -7 but sunny and not windy, that would have been better. But +2 and windy and rainy, I get a call. The producers called like 10 minutes before we were about to start rolling, and the first assistant director comes up to me and he says, you know, the LA just called. You can wear a shirt if you want. Keeping in mind that I've had prosthetics and scars and all of these things put on for an hour and a half. So my day started at like 4 o'clock in the morning in the makeup chair, and I just went, just knock it off. Doing it shirtless. Austin Freeman, would you like a Firestorm guest appearance and a Amell team up? Of course. That'd be awesome. Robbie and I have shared an episode of television, 108 of The Flash, but we have never been in a scene together in any form, shape, shift, capacity whatsoever. That didn't make sense. I would love to do a team up with Robbie. I think it would be awesome. Whether that happens on The Flash or on Arrow remains to be seen. Brandon Roberts, do you have any Christmas traditions? Merry Christmas, Captain. Thank you, Brandon. Traditions? No. But I love Christmas. I may be Santa Claus. It's possible. Christmas, as a holiday, I love it. I taught my daughter to say ho, ho, ho recently. Oh, oh, oh. I wouldn't say that I have any particular traditions. I like to open a present on Christmas Eve. I like to do stocking stuffers before breakfast. I like to have a nice breakfast. Then I like to open presents. Then I like people to open presents one present at a time. We are not animals. You know how people make rum and eggnog? I like making rum and eggnog with that like $9 eggnog that you get at Whole Foods and like Bacardi 8 rum. It's not swill rum and gross eggnog with a bunch of nutmeg and cinnamon in it. Just a hardcore rum and eggnog, like I'm making a upscale cocktail at a rooftop patio in Manhattan, or like I'm making a Manhattan in Manhattan. You get the point. I love Christmas. Laura Schinner, since you have such a big social media presence, I haven't read these questions by the way. How do you decide between what to post on Facebook and what to post on Twitter? I don't know. I don't know how to use Twitter anymore. And I post things on Twitter sometimes. I got mad at a guy on Twitter who was a big troll. Now, I understand that people are going to create Twitter accounts. We may have to break this up into 3 parts, by the way. Holiday special. I understand that there are going to be people on Twitter who create an account under an assumed name with a spam email account, and they just go on there and they post and they post and they post and they post. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. But when someone goes there under their real name and lists places where they work and then openly, aggressively, diabolically trolls people and suggests that they kill themselves, I don't understand how we are supposed to take Twitter seriously. Like, how does ESPN run tweets from athletes? Why is CNN and CNBC and any news organization using Twitter in any way, shape, or form, even if it's from a verified account? How can we trust it? I do not. I think their security is garbage. I think that their conduct policy is non-existent and thus just utterly reprehensible. I think them representing themselves as anything other than a glorified spam sprayer is laughable. So I don't know what to post on Twitter. I might as well post a picture of a bag of shit, because that's what Twitter is good for. I should just delete my Twitter account. I like following my friends on Twitter, but I hate so many of the things that it stands for. And I really hope that as a company, in all seriousness, I really hope that as a company, they do something like what Instagram just did. Incidentally, Instagram, owned by Facebook. They create a conduct policy. They create a level of transparency so that if you want to use their platform, you have to go through at least a couple of rudimentary checks and balances. So yeah, Twitter. On Facebook, on the other hand, I post things that are important to me because I know that the interaction with people is real. And I know that when people comment, and if people want to bring cool things to my attention, that the community at large on Facebook and the internet at large in places where you're not allowed utter anonymity, it's a happy place. I love that show, The Newsroom, and in season 1 when Jeff Daniels is like, I'm on a mission to civilize. I am on a mission to civilize. I think, personally, that my Facebook page is an utterly civil, happy place. Every once in a while, I'll respond to a comment, and I'll see people getting a little bit cyber brave in going after that person, but it's nowhere near the level of hostility that you find on a platform like Twitter. We may have to break this into 4 parts. Soraya Gomes, what was your favorite Christmas gift when you were a child? Super Nintendo, 1992. I was 12. Richard Esther, since you're a huge WWE fan and have said so several times that you would love to host Raw, where would you love to do it most? And if you had the chance to face someone in the ring, who would it be? I loved wrestling villains growing up, so I want to host the show in Toronto, my hometown, and then come out and start ripping on the Leafs and tear my shirt off. I have a big LA Kings tattoo there, and just shit talk the crowd about how we're the Stanley Cup champions 2 of the past 3 years, and then get my ass kicked at the end of the night to make the crowd explode. Because that's what wrestling is all about, getting a crowd reaction. So yeah, that's how I'd like to do it. And it could be any wrestler, really. Hopefully a Canadian wrestler. It could be like, you fake Canadian. I love Canada, by the way. I am Canadian. Like Apple, in the mid-season finale, was there any significance to the swords that you picked to fight Raws? Nope. Good question, though. Paul Kite. How did the wardrobe that housed the weapons get to the top of the mountain? It's a league secret. Allie Smith, what was the temperature when you were filming the sword fight? I accidentally answered this earlier. It was like 2 Celsius and windy, so there was a wind chill. Alyssa Hughes, what was your reaction when you read the script of the mid-season finale? I was so enamored with it. There's a character that I sometimes play in my own life, and I'll call it Evil Story Steve. Like when somebody dies on the show, there's the regular part of me that's really sad, and then there's Evil Story Steve, who gets really excited by all the ripple effects of such a cataclysmic moment on the show. Like when Tommy died. I love Colin Donnell. And then the producers say to me, well, okay, so do we. But his death is going to be the catalyst for the following events that will bridge us through the second season. And Evil Story Steve goes, all right. I need better lighting, by the way, in this whole setup. I have an idea. There's a room behind me, back there. I'm going to put a vanity light because, you know, I am an actor. and yeah. I loved reading the script, is the answer to that question. Rafael Ernesto, what is your favorite Oliver and Diggle moment in the series until now? I kind of like the first time that I called him John. It was in episode 16 of season 1. Just in general, there is no favorite moment. I just enjoy that friendship. I enjoy it a lot. A lot. Emily Rose, last question on part 1 of this 7-part Q&A. Emily Rose says, Robbie did a Q&A earlier and he said that Firestorm could win in a fight with the Arrow. What do you have to say about that? Just because you can catch on fire and make fireballs with your brain and your hands and other stuff that I'm sure Diggle would be curious about based on his questions about Flash, doesn't mean you have tactile experience. Doesn't mean you have any experience at all. Go play with your fire. Okay? I survived a hellish thingamajig for 5 years. And like 2.5 years in Starling City. Before someone ran a sword through my gut and kicked me off a cliff. Seems like a good place to end. That's part 1. Thank you, Facebook. I have no idea how many questions that we did, but I'm really enjoying myself. These will pop up sporadically throughout the day.